When outlining the steps in a BI solution, the process involves interviews, documentation, locating data, at least at first. Interviews are important because you need to find out what people want. And as part of the interview process, investigate what kind of things that they are currently using and how they're using it. Writing down what you've learned, of course, is important, not only just to remind yourself later, but also to help you in creating professional documents at a later point in time. And one of the final things you need to do is to go through and locate the data that they're currently working with. You want to make sure that it's available to you. If the data is available, you've created documentation that kind of outlines what they want, you see how they worked with their current system, you've talked to them, then it's time to go through and move on to the next level, which is defining who's going to do what. Now, if you cannot perform the project, hopefully the interviews and trying to locate their data, etc., will tell you that. And you'll have to go back and talk to them at that juncture. But let's say that you've got past that, you've moved down to defining the team roles, defining the team members, and defining a team schedule. Team roles, as we'll see in just a minute, are who's going to or what kind of tasks need to be performed. And then team members are the people that you're going to get to perform those tasks, and the schedule hopefully is self-evident. It's when those tasks are going to be performed. If you can't find the people to do the job, you're going to have to go back to the first step and talk to folks about what you can do and what you can't. It's kind of unfortunate, but that is the reality. Better to know ahead of time. Now, if on the other hand, you are successful in finding team members and coming up with a schedule that's going to work, you can move on to defining the IT security and licensing requirements to make sure that it's going to be something that can be done either legally or effectively within the network environment you're in. Sometimes those are unfortunately the showstoppers. Of course, another big showstopper is how much it's going to cost. It's great to have a fantastic plan, but if nobody can afford it, it's not going to do much good. If you cannot get the IT department to allow you to do what you need, the security isn't sufficient, licensing requirements aren't going to happen, or, of course, if it costs too much, you're going to have to go back to the beginning and see what you can do. Go through the interview process and start the whole thing again. But once again, if you can get past that, fantastic. Now it's time to go through and come up with some basic documentation outlining your game plan. You want to do this before you start the implementation. The implementation is the next stage after you do some basic documentation. You may notice that the arrow from implementation goes back to the start of the solution. That's on purpose. The idea is that we're going to have multiple iterations of this process, and each one will kind of follow the same pattern. Now, there's nothing really novel about this approach, as I mentioned. But it is effective. It works. There's the reason why it has shown up over the years so many times. Certainly, feel free to add in your own extra layers or extra tasks that you think are to the flowchart that you think will be more effective for your current needs. But use this as a baseline to get started. Next, let's take a look at the interviewing process.